Go ahead.
So,
Yeah, you're good to go.
Okay. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the Around 270 Hoops podcast with another edition, the first of 2026. I'm your host, Luke Harrington. Today, we've got some special guests. We've got the OG, Zach Fleer, and then we've also got longtime 270 Hoops writer, Darkel Curry. What's up, guys? How's your New Year going so far? Zach first.
it's going pretty well. Back to school, so dealing with that. But it's been a good 2026 so far, so can't complain.
Same for me. I just think I've in kind of the best mental headspace I've been in a while. So it's nice to kind of feel like myself. It's nice to kind of be integrated into the grind, be in the gym. So I can't complain. No complaints here.
It's kind of funny that last time when I went to that Northland Centennial game, I was like, man, this was the gym, the matchup that you covered your first ever game. That would have been what, like 2017, maybe?
I might have been 6. No, it was 17. It was 17.
17. It was Keyshawn Underwood's first game. I remember that was your first game. So I just had that thought, and I was like, man, how fast, 7, 8 years go by. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah,
No,
I feel like the noob in this group. Lots of inside jokes already that I have no idea what you guys are saying. Hopefully I'll learn them eventually. I like to be a part of those sometimes. So anyway, on the show today, we are going to recap what we've seen. We had a lot of cool tournaments over the holidays, and we're going to recap those. We're going to talk about stock risers and fallers. And then if we have time, we'll get to some overreactions as well for the rest of the season. Make sure if you have not done so, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. Also, find us on social media at 270 Hoops and follow us there for more content. So just to start off, to be honest, like I've been on vacation. I was actually in Boise, Idaho, which seems super random, but I had something on my bucket list. I wanted to go skiing. But I was watching Ohio High School hoops in Idaho, which probably set a record. I was probably the only person to ever do that in that state. So I'd like to tout that for a second. Let's just get right to it. Zach, do you want to talk a little bit about what you saw at the 5C Classic, which had some phenomenal matchups, and you were there the whole time, correct?
Yeah, it was part of the day, both Saturday and Sunday. Before I answer that, did you see Boise State's blue turf football field? Because if you didn't, then that was a waste of a trip to Boise.
I've been there before, and I have.
Oh,
okay.
So
I went to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
Okay.
So when Josh Allen actually played at Wyoming, he played in that game against Central Michigan. Me and my wife went. So I have seen it.
All right.
It's as blue as it looks on TV. So
that's what's up. I have a bone to pick with that stadium. They gotta like freshen up those orange end zones. They're like so dull by now. It doesn't even match the jersey colors, but that's besides the point. You see my real passions now, which is college football. But 5C Classic was great. Just want to give big shout out. Anthony Golston does a great job organizing that event. I think the event kind of was even more heartfelt. It's a cancer research event. That's all the proceeds go to that. And Golson's, best friend was Artie Taylor, who passed away, a longtime Wellington coach, with a battle with cancer just a few weeks ago. So I talked to Golson at the end of the event, and, he had told me he was with Artie every single day, for the last few months before that event. So just wanted to give just some love to the Taylor family right now. Really cool. Earlier this week, Artie's son AJ plays at Wittenberg, and he got in the game and hit a big three in like his first shot of that game. So it was a really cool moment for that whole family. But just want to send my prayers out to the Taylor family. But event was great as always. I think Golson runs probably the smoothest and the best event, all things considered, as far as the matchups, the venue, hospitality room, the food is incredible every single time, and he cooks most of it. Got to give a shout out to the green beans that he makes, but the games were excellent. I think the Saturday games that really stood out to me, Newark statement win over Afrocentric. I was curious how both teams would fare in that game. Pick Central went up against Newark the night before. Newark got a big win at home, and then Afrocentric was able to defeat Walnut Ridge. So those games, this game was less than 24 hours after that. Newark had, once again, just an absolutely dominant performance. It was just basketball perfection as far as execution. And Ty Brown Brooks, junior guard, big-time stock riser. Jake Quackenbush, rightfully so, gets a lot of the hype with Newark, but Ty Brown has been incredible this year. He was really good in that game against Afrocentric. Game after that, Cleveland St. Ignatius got revenge against Olentangy Orange. R.J. Jones is a senior going to Akron for Ignatius. Dude's a big-time player. Was really good in that game. And then Orange, just without Trayton Schrader, who's their only returning starter from that state championship team last year. Without him in the lineup, they're kind of struggling, but they seem like they're rounding the corner a little bit. And then the last game of the night, Bishop Hartley was able to get a big win over Summit Academy out of Cincinnati. Ja'Kai Calloway, just once again, big time point guard, one of my favorite players to watch in the area. He was really good in that game. And they just, Hartley continues to roll. Had a hiccup early in the season at Newark, which I guess isn't much of a hiccup when you consider that team's undefeated, but they've been rolling ever since, and it looked really good. Then Sunday, got there Sunday evening, Sunday night. Really intriguing matchup with Upper Arlington and New Albany with Tim Casey. Former UA coach, had an exit that, wasn't the prettiest per se from UA. Goes to New Albany, and UA is able to knock off New Albany, all-around team effort in that matchup. I've been impressed with Upper Arlington this year. With the loss of Alex Smith, was unsure, how they would fare, what they would look like this year. But they've been pretty solid, all things considered, with losing him, and they were very good in that game. New Albany is going to be a team in Division II. District champion potential, absolutely. Regional champion potential, absolutely. So good win for Upper Arlington. The two games after that, though, those were the games of the weekend that people were looking forward to. Westerville North, Lutheran East played an absolute unreal game. Potential game of the year. Lutheran East wins the game on a buzzer beater, mid-range jumper. Just an excellent all-around matchup. And those games kind of played the same way, where Westerville North jumped up early, was getting out in transition, was getting all types of easy buckets. And then, the opposing team was able to chip away, and it made it a game there in the fourth quarter. And that's what happened with Lutheran East. They have probably the two best wins in the state, beating Reynoldsburg, beating Westerville North, coming down to Columbus and being victorious both times. So shout out to Lutheran East. They look like they're probably going to win the state championship again. And then the game after that, Lakota West, which, just like the game that happened Saturday night, was a rematch of the state semifinals in D1 with Ignatius and Olentangy Orange, where Orange won in the tournament last year, then Ignatius won in the rematch, and then same thing happened on Sunday night with Lakota West. Famously, lost that buzzer beater, inbound pass, 1 second remaining game against Reynoldsburg. They got revenge in that game. The duo of Josh Tyson, Bryce Curry, as advertised. If you haven't seen Lakota West play, definitely recommend going out and checking those guys out. They're very intriguing. But they were able to overcome a slow start, against Reynoldsburg in that game, and that was a big time matchup for them. And then for them to even this past Sunday go on the road and beat Lima Senior at Lima Senior, two big time wins for them as well. So that big time event, I really enjoyed it, and I was happy I was there.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead. My fault.
Want to piggyback off of Zach too. Definitely prayers to the Taylor family. Shout out to Ghostin for running the fire event. It's honestly, to me, it has become like that premier event to kick the season off. It kind of feels like a family reunion. The who's everybody's kind of in the gym. You're bumping elbows. You're chopping it up, catching up with guys. I feel like it would be criminal if we did not mention my guy Deuce dropping 51 against Centennial. That was an intriguing City League matchup with Centennial knocking off Northland and kind of having their own path to the City League title. I was really interested to catch that one. I actually got there late, so that sucked. But I did get to see like the last 6 to 8 points of Deuce going for 51. So that was crazy. I feel like Ridge kind of really gave it to Centennial. And I don't think really many people were like expecting that. So that was just kind of like an interesting one, just like in a city league. And then I had to give a shout out to Youngstown Ursuline. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right or not. I was not familiar with their Creighton commit, Jalen Gunther, but man, that kid can go. He put on an absolute show. You can just tell he loves the game. Kind of reminds me of like that flair that Trae Young had at Oklahoma, just like his love of the game. He's making plays, getting his guys involved. It was a pleasure to watch him. So those will probably be the two games I would shout out. So it was nice seeing Youngstown Ursuline and then Deuce. He's been big all year, man. That kid's one of my favorite kids in the area, man. He just goes out there, puts his hard hat on. It's not pretty, but he gets the job done like every time. So shout out to that.
Yeah, one of the best two sport athletes in Central Ohio. No question. Marquise Lucas, who we're talking about here. 51 points. Is this the highest scoring game that you guys have seen in Ohio so far or heard about?
This year, yeah, he was 1 point short of the Walnut Ridge all-time record, which Von Cameron Davis set back in 2020 against West. No offense to West, but I think it's more impressive for Deuce, doing that against Centennial that was undefeated going into that matchup and was kind of the talk of the City League, and where Walnut Ridge just the night before lost to Afrocentric. So for them to bounce back and, like Darkel said, they handled them. It
was almost a 40-point win, right?
It was 91-69. It was like 22-point game. But,
okay.
Played really well. Ridge just took it to him, and that's a team that's like really hard to figure out sometimes. I think they're 5-6 now, and they played a tough schedule. So I'm not taking anything away from them, but big time win for them in that game, and just a couple more recent games. That 5C Classic was December 20th, 21st. Over the winter break, I was able to get out and go to some places that I haven't been to pretty much ever. One of those places was Danville. D7 matchup that I saw last week, Newark Catholic versus Danville. One of the best games I've seen all year. Went down to the final second, actually. The Danville gym was packed. I was sitting next to a guy that's gone to every Danville game for the last 30 years. And it was like halftime of the JV game. And he said, I haven't seen this gym this packed this early in about 25 years. And those are two teams that should be, anywhere in the top four of the D7 seedings. So I would love to see those teams match up again. Got to give a shout out to senior Dylan Dobb, point guard for Newark Catholic. Dude was incredible in that game. Just runs the show, can make shots, is got a lot of swagger to his game. He was really fun to watch. And game I saw last Saturday, it's the fourth time these teams have played in less than a year. Bishop Reedy and Columbus Academy. Academy swept them last year 3 times, beat them in the regional final. Reedy got the revenge. And when these teams matched up at Academy like they did Saturday a year ago, Academy was able to beat them with a buzzer beater from Jason Singleton. This time around, Reedy really took it to him starting in the third quarter. Mike Daniels, my guy. We're talking about dual sport athletes. That's another dude that's one of the elite in the area. He was so good in that game. He had 20 points, 6 assists, 7 steals, just got it done on both ends of the floor. His backcourt mate, Zay Taliaferro, was very good. And then the big man, Austin Vacheres, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but Vacheres, yes, just ran the floor, was getting transition buckets, had I think 4 or 5 like stick back buckets, rebounding, just doing everything they needed from the 5 spot. Very good game from him, and that's a guy. He's about 6'5". He does everything that really needs them to do at that position. And with those guards, a dynamic trio. Daniels, Taliaferro, and then
Marco Small.
Marco Small, yeah, the trio, man. These guys are good. They're going to be a threat once again in D5. And then the last game I'll mention, last night, hadn't, obviously know the rivalry, but hadn't seen it in person. But East was at Lyndon McKinley. Classic City League rivalry, like Walnut Ridge and Eastmore. This is like the north side version of that between East and Lyndon McKinley. The Lyndon band was so good. That was the best part of the game, honestly. The unstoppable, mighty, marching Panthers. They brought the house down at halftime. So this is the first time I filmed a band, I think, ever. Put that in the YouTube video. But as good as they were, as good as Lyndon's band was, Deshaun Fior was even better. The East senior guard, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the area. He doesn't get a lot of clout because he does play at East, and they haven't been super successful. But that dude can absolutely play. Last night he carried them. He had 35 points. They entered the fourth quarter down by 8. He scored, I think, the first 9 points of the fourth quarter for East, took the lead for them. He had 18 points overall in the fourth quarter. He hit 5 threes. He missed, I only think, 1 free throw. He was 10 of 11 from the line, I believe. Had a couple big assists. Made every single play they needed to be made. He hit a 3, put him up 4. He gave the silencer motion to the student section. Linden came back, tied the game. And then with the tie game, he broke a double team, almost a triple team, made a dime pass, had a dunk. They took the lead. Linden was able to tie the game again. And then the play of the game, East turns the ball over. Student section's going crazy. This dude had a belt because I think he was going to imitate Michael Irvin and spank the belt against the wall if they would have won. But unfortunately, couldn't use it because Deshaun stole the inbounds pass right in his own basket, scored the layup, took the lead, and then ended up icing the game at the line. That's a senior guard. I've been talking to a couple college coaches about him. Dude can absolutely play. And he's just a city league kid that, again, a lot of kids, if you're not at a major city league school like Afrocentric or Walnut Ridge or Northland, Centennial now, it's hard to get some of that shine. So he was the reason, honestly, I showed up on Tuesday. I wanted to check him out, and he did not disappoint. So I wanted to give a big shout out to Deshaun because that individual performance is one of the best I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, he's like that. He's been really good in our camps the last few years. And he did a nice job on the for Midwest Basketball Club on the E40 circuit. I got to see him a little bit. Just plays a lot of passion too. Just something that a lot of players, just kind of an energy that is just contagious. I've always been a big fan of his game as well.
And he's a kid. I walked in the door, immediately dapped me and my boy Brian from Grind City Media up, and then sent a message after thank you for coming out. It's just you don't get that a lot anymore. A lot of kids that play kind of expect the coverage. They feel like they're entitled to it. That's a kid. He understands that kind of what we do is not normal. And again, school like East, they just don't get the coverage that other schools get. So it's really cool to see a humble kid like that get rewarded that really loves basketball.
Yeah, agreed. I was really excited to see that as well. So like I said, I've been out of town, but I did end up going to 2 games. So one of them they're both actually kind of out of town. So I went to see Archbishop Alter play at Trotwood Madison. I've heard a lot of good things about Trotwood's gym. So I wanted to check that out. It's a really neat setup. It's got the walkway all the way across the top part of the gym. Unfortunately, they don't let you walk on there anymore. I don't know why. They have security guards standing there. But it was a neat experience. 83-80 Trotwood wins. Not a lot of defense played, but a couple shout outs in that game. I know it's a little bit out of our area, but the big one is William Pegler from Archbishop Alter. He's one of the best freshmen in the state. He already has an offer from Murray State point guard. He's already Alter's best player as a freshman, which is really impressive. He ended up with 23 points in that game and was the only reason the Knights were in that one. And then Trotwood did a nice job moving the ball. Very scrappy defensively. Were able to get out and run a lot. I was really impressed with their game as well. They've also had a lot of success and look to be a force in D3. And then I went to a D7 matchup down at New Hope Christian Academy, which is inside of a church. So that was neat. They played a Trimble, which is near Athens. And that was a great game as well. Ended up being a 1-point win for Trimble. Shout out to Brady Jasek, who was physically dominant in the game, clear leader for Trimble in that one. And then a senior that I think is a small college prospect that probably nobody's heard of, Nate Ames from New Hope. He ended up with 26 points and did absolutely everything he could to will the Statesman to the win, just coming up a point short. So that was my coverage. All right. So Darkel, want to talk a little bit about the Harvest Prep New Year's Bash?
Yeah, first I want to give a shout out to Coach Dennis, definitely one of the GOATs. I feel like GOATs should get their flowers while they're still here to receive them. He threw a great event, some great matchups. So it was nice to kind of chop it up with him and get out there and see. The first game I was able to catch was Louisville versus Newport, which is to my knowledge, they're a pretty good school every year out of Kentucky. And I just I know that both of those are like out of area, but you know Louisville is the defending D3 state champ, so I just kind of want to see what they look like this year. They're struggling a bit. They're like 6-6, but you can see that championship culture DNA. The way they play is just very similar to me, at least to like a Newark. They run their stuff, they play defense, they move the ball, knock down shots. I was honestly surprised to see that they were 6-6. They looked really good. That Newport team was 7-3, and they beat them by about 20. Knocked down a ton of threes and played some good ball. Good camaraderie. The bench was live. So that was like a good way to start the game. After that, give me 1 second.
Yeah, Louisville, just real quick, they were the ones that knocked out Bishop Hartley in the regional final last year. And they basically had their entire starting lineup is a turnover and their coach. So, you know, basically a whole new team.
Yeah. So after that game, the next matchup was Harvest Prep against Lutheran West. It was my first time seeing both teams. Prep ended up pulling out a tight one. They just had a lot of guys. I was really impressed with them and kind of look forward to seeing what they could do this year, like in the tournament. I know they had that win over Kaufman, and it was a bit surprising. But honestly, after watching them play, especially I believe Cochran was out for Kaufman in that game.
Yeah, he was.
So I seen Kaufman against EA, and they beat them up pretty bad. But like without him, that's honestly after watching Harvard's Prep play, is not surprising. They got a lot of guys, a lot of size, a lot of athletes. There was quite a few kids who had good performances. 1 second.
Yeah, they had actually a sneaky good win at Marysville yesterday. In terms of the rankings, it doesn't look like it, but Marysville has been pretty hot. They knocked off Olentangy Orange and have a couple nice wins in a row. So, yeah, sneaky good resume so far for Harvest Prep.
So they had a lot of guys show up and show out. I would say that was head spittered by Dayer Adams, about 6'4", 6'5" forward. Really like athletic looking guy. I was surprised to see him step out, knock down a couple threes. He just kind of did whatever he wanted. He finished with like 22 and probably a double-double. I wasn't keeping stats. I was recording. But he had a great game. Juwan Wharton had a great game shooting the ball. I believe he had 18 points. Jamarcus Jones came off the bench, provided a spark. He had like 11 points. Jalen Johnson spearheaded the defense. He was picking guys up full court, constantly turning the ball over. And then David McGuire chipped in, had some good plays to get the he actually opened the game with a big time dunk. So I was just really impressed with Harvest Prep, period. They had a really good team. And Lutheran West did have a standout junior. Give me 1 second. Aiden Monroe. I looked him up after the game. I see he had a few D1 offers. 6'6", 4'3", 4. Getting it done inside, outside. Great kid. Talked to me after the game. Just chopped it up. Just told me he appreciated the coverage. So kind of just piggybacking off of Zach, it's always great to see a kid like that, a high-level kid who just, doesn't expect you to be there. Still appreciative. But he had a really good game. He had 24 as well. So it was nice to see him. Looking forward to seeing him again and maybe checking him out this summer for AAU. That was a good game. After that, I had been told by a friend of mine that I needed to go check out Genoa Christian because they had a guy, and he did not disappoint at all. I'm referring to Jackson. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Carrera.
Jackson Carrera, 6'6", lanky guard. Man, he put on the show. Controlled the whole game. I was most impressed with his unselfishness. Everything he got was within the flow of the offense. When he was doubled, he passed it immediately. Always tried to make the right play. Even if he had a turnover, it was because he was trying to make the right play. Didn't shoot it great from outside, but got to his spots, finished really well at the rim, had a really impressive backdoor dunk. A player. My hot take is honestly he could be D7 player of the year. He can go. I'm looking forward to see how his season goes and follow them and see if maybe they can make a run for us in D7. That was a good game. And then the nightcap was Cincinnati Aiken versus Bishop Hartley. And that was a good one. Aiken lost in the state championship for D3 last year. So, and, Hartley went to regional final, lost to Louisville. So I was looking forward to that one. That one kind of gave like a city league feel. There was a lot of talking, but a lot of backing it up. Guys were really getting after it. At one point, Aiken was down about 14, and they just kind of locked in and rallied back. And I believe Hartley only ended up winning that one by about 4 or 6. So just a really good game to end the event. I mean, there was a girls game after that. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay for that one. I believe Harvest Prep girls ended up taking down Reynoldsburg. But all in all, it was just a great event. I did cover that Kaufman and Eastmore game as well. Eastmore's young. They played hard, but eventually Kaufman was just too much. I believe they knocked down 15 threes in that game, and Cochran was just kind of too much to handle. There wasn't really anything EA could do with them. So I'd be looking forward to see Kaufman again against like somebody else. But those are really the games that I caught last week.
Yeah, Kaufman has actually a big week ahead, and we can start it yesterday with a good road win over DeSales, 9-point win. And we can get to them in a minute as well. So did you want to talk a little bit about your like city league outlook, kind of like the top teams you think are going to come out of that league?
Okay, so I had the pleasure, my first game of the year, absolute banger. It was a Centennial versus Northland game. Especially like a city league high school team, like their size is uncommon. I mean, I want to say they run like 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". And those guys can play. I've got some friends on the coaching staff, a former teammate, Armor Manzi, shout out to the Stars, and pretty tight with the head coach too. So I was kind of rooting for them, but obviously I'm at the game watching. And that one was just a banger, but I was really impressed with Centennial's composure, their poise. I think a lot of times when it comes to Northland, they have that city league lore, but it seemed like Centennial just didn't care. Like every time the moment got tough and they could have folded, they didn't. They responded. So that was really impressive. Then I caught Afrocentric versus Ridge, Nubian forever. We'll always have biases there. And that one was a really good one. I think a lot of people are just giving Afrocentric a cakewalk, and I think for that I'd say not so fast. When they go to 48-41, they better be ready, and they better bring their hard hats. In that game, Deuce actually picked up 2 fouls within the first 50 seconds. So he missed the whole first half. He came in the second half, immediately got to work, immediately picked up that energy from Ridge. And that game was decided in the last minute. Afrocentric showed a lot of maturity by figuring that one out and figuring out a way to win. But I'm sad because I'm going to be out of town on vacation and I'm going to miss that game at Ridge. But I'm hoping that maybe I could find like a stream or something to watch that one. So I think it's a lot more between those two teams than people are giving credit for. And just on the other side, I think Centennial taking care of business. You know that City League rule, the last team to go doesn't like it, if you weren't the last team to go, you get the nod. So they control their own destiny. If they can win out, and even if they lose in Northland, they still, as long as they beat everybody else, they still will be representing the North. So I'm just kind of interested.
And it works in it works in Walnut Ridge's favor too. So
yep.
They beat Afrocentric the next time. For those that don't know, so City League's tiebreaker rule is who has the longer drought of going to the City League Championship, not point differential, not anything else that kind of makes sense. So if Walnut Ridge beats Afrocentric, I was like having this conversation with some students at Northland. I was like, man, you guys could beat Centennial. I don't think they would, but you guys could beat Centennial by 40 and it wouldn't matter, because it's just who hasn't been in the longest. I don't know if Centennial's ever played in the City League Championship. That's just a credit to Sean Williams. When he got that job, I sent a pretty big recommendation in for him at that time because I just believed in the vision that he had. As a young coach, he's just very meticulous in his planning, in his preparation, in his branding of his program, and how they look, what they look like on the internet. Their social media presence, like all those things, stuff really matters, especially, it may seem difficult, but like putting a roster on the internet with numbers and grades and height, he does that on their social media pages with every single player. Like I felt like I knew a lot about that team before even seeing them because of their Instagram page. You know, I knew that Khalifa So was a super long, rangy senior, and he proved it in that game. And that just goes to show when you go the extra mile, especially in the City League, like you can win, and he's done it. So I'm a big fan of Centennial's program. I know I got the Northland stuff on. This is what I wore to school today. But they're playing some great basketball. I know they've had a couple hiccups here recently, but it's going to be very difficult to imagine another City League team outside of Northland able to beat them. So great win for Centennial, and with the fact that Northland was playing with Daniil Krylov that game. That was his first game being eligible for the Vikings. So next time they play, it's going to be a great matchup. But, you know, with that rule, like we were talking about, kind of lowers, you know, the intrigue, I guess, with it. You know, Centennial's going to lose to somebody else in order for that game to really have any type of consequence. So looking like right now, Centennial will definitely come out the north. And then, you know, if Ridge can handle business outside of Afrocentric, you know, that game at 48-41 is going to be winner take all. So some big games coming up in the city. Definitely excited for it.
That's an interesting tiebreaker. I actually did not know that. Has that been around a while?
It's as long as I've been around. I'm pretty sure it's
interesting.
Been the rule forever. So
and not to be a basher, but if I'm being honest, I just think it's stupid. The past teams have nothing to do with the brand new team. Like, they've worked hard all year. I don't know. I can't tell you I have the answer. I don't know if you make them play again. I don't know if you go again point differential. But like that, I've seen that rule like screw some really good teams out of like the opportunity to play. And I just don't. I'm just not a fan of it. Period.
Yeah, it's odd. I mean, I've never heard of anything like that.
It's the reason. And so in 2014, Northland had went to the city championship every year since 06 and or 07, and they were not able to go. They lost one game to Brookhaven. The point differential favored Northland at that time. They had beaten their common opponents by more points. They had the point differential, argument in their favor. But it was that rule, and that's what sent Brookhaven to the city championship in 2014. But I'm glad the rule was intact there, because that was the last season of Brookhaven basketball. So I guess it's all right for that year. But definitely I agree and feel you on the sentiments, Darkel, because like you said, some really good teams, you get that one slip up and it kind of puts a nail in the coffin for your City League season, at least when you're trying to win that championship.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll get to Centennial again here in a minute when we get to stock risers and fallers. So let's just kind of get into that now. And I made this list, so I'll read them off what I think, and then you guys can obviously comment. Stock risers, I think I don't think there's any debating that in Division I, Newark and Hilliard Bradley right now are kind of the class of that division. Newark's 9-0, fantastic record so far. Some really good wins. Haven't played Reynoldsburg yet, which is going to be very, very interesting. But I believe they do. I don't know when it is.
Next Tuesday.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So that's probably almost for sure the game of the day that day. And then Bradley just keep finding a way to win. They lost their first game to Cincinnati LaSalle, which ended up being a pretty good loss. I mean, LaSalle's undefeated still in Division III, and a lot of people have them ranked number 1. They've won 9 in a row. They don't play a player taller than 6'3", but they find a way anyway. They just had a great win over Big Walnut that starts a lot of size and didn't really bother them. So, Coach Norris and what they're doing there, it looks like the Jags are back. Reynoldsburg I have on here as well as a stock riser. We have them ranked 3rd. Their Max Preps RPI ranking is 8th. They did lose to Lakota West, like we said, but they just got a nice win over Pickerington Central, which was the RPI number 3 last night. So I still think Reynoldsburg is a force, despite a few losses at 6-3. So I just think they just have too much talent, and seem to be playing some good basketball right now. Really interesting one too, Olentangy. So Olentangy is ranked number 4 in our rankings. They're 8-1. They haven't lost in Ohio. So their one loss was in I believe it was a Pittsburgh showcase over the holiday. I think the biggest test for the Braves right now is that they face Big Walnut on Saturday. That's going to be, I think, their toughest opponent so far, even though Big Walnut's been a little disappointing. But I think that's going to be a good test of where Olentangy is at. And then in D2, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the biggest surprise is St. Charles. They're ranked number 3 in our rankings, and they're 9-1, which is, you know, a big turnaround from last year so far. But once again, this weekend they have their test. They play Hartley at home. So their one loss is at Grove City, which has had a nice resurgent year. And you know, if they can find a way to beat the Hawks at home, I think that kind of, you know, cements St. Charles as a district title contender.
Well, if there's 5 districts in D2, which there should be this year, again, definitely, you know, think they are, regardless. Especially considering that last year we had a district final between Westerville Central and Worthington Kilbourne, and both teams were under 500.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Very good chance. You know, St. Charles did play in the district championship last year. They just had the misfortune of playing Westerville North. So,
okay, yeah,
definitely see them making a run back there. But D2 is interesting. It's kind of like D6, where once you get outside of like the top 5, or I guess D6 is even worse, but D2 especially, you know, once you get outside of like top 6, almost every team is under 500 by that point. So it's probably going to be the same case once again this tournament season. So if you can win a lot of games like St. Charles has, it's going to give you a great RPI shot. You know, if you can be a top 5 seed, then you get to be, you know, the highest team in your district title bracket, if you choose that direction. So excited to see what St. Charles can do. Charlie Coasters is a senior forward that I really like. 6'4". He was the leading scorer last year for him. Stock rising player, and he's had a good year for them. So shout out to St. Charles. It's good to see them back because, you know, they had a run there from about 2017 to 2022 between Nick Musinski, Chase Walker. You know, they put out some really good big men in the last 10 years. So shout out to St. Charles.
Nick Searles too. He was
Nick Searles, yes, I forgot, man. How did I forget?
Yeah, of course, Searles.
And he had Josh Whiteside too. So, you know, they were loaded there for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so just on to D3 with stock risers. I don't know if it's really a stock riser, but I know when in the past episodes of this podcast, me and Greg have talked about that we were concerned about Bishop Hartley because of the loss of Marcus Hemphill. It doesn't look like it's like nothing really to be concerned about right now with them. I mean, they haven't lost since they lost to Newark on opening day. They're 8-1. Andreas James's winning culture continues, and they don't start a player taller than 6'4", which is really impressive. What they've done so far, and they just keep rolling. I mean, I think it's hard to not buy into the Hawks right now.
Yeah, I think in March or February for high school. March. Guards win games, and their backcourt. It's been a while since I've been like outside like I am this year, but I'm not taking too many backcourts over their backcourt. And I think obviously we got Ja'Kai Calloway, Kent State commit, but I think that's a huge credit to the leap that Caleb O'Neal has took. I mean, that kid can put the ball in the hole, like elite, confident scorer. Especially once he gets going from like outside. He's very energetic. He gets the team going. He's one of the guys who was doing his talking, but he's backing his talking up. And it's all like in the fun of the game. It's nothing like, too disrespectful. He's just out there having a good time. And I've seen Hartley play a lot last year, so the growth of his game has been fun to watch. And if you haven't seen him, get your popcorn and go watch that backcourt. Those guys can go.
Throwing this at you guys, but at this point of the season, do you think Hartley is better this year than last year?
I'm not ready to go there yet. I think last year's roster, they definitely have the talent, and then Jaden and Ja'Kai, watching those two dudes together was really fun. So they're very good. I still would take last year's team for them right now.
I'm not sure if I'm ready to go there either, but what I will say is Tu is a senior now, and Tu was a junior last year. Like there's not too many guards I would take. Period. If I'm starting my team and it's a fantasy draft, I'm probably taking Tu. Like his poise and comfort out there, he just really controls the show. And like obviously with his brother they were better, but like there's no like sharing it. Like he's the guy. Everybody knows he's the guy. Tu's the guy. He looks really comfortable in that role. Is the only thing I would say.
Yeah. Is there a better defensive guard in Ohio?
I don't think
Ooh,
so.
I like to throw Ty Perkins in the hat. Oh,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Tyson. Sorry.
Tyson,
Yeah.
AAU teammates. Yeah. I hear you. Other than him, probably not though. Okay, and then we talked about this Walnut Ridge. I put them in stock risers. They could be in the like hard to tell category. Although for the most part, from what I've seen, I'm kind of buying into them. They had a very close loss to Upper Arlington, which Upper Arlington's turned out to be pretty good in Division One. So I just think Ridge has a lot going for him. When Marquise Lucas is playing the way he is, he's very hard to stop. Big win over Centennial was kind of the bookmark of the year so far for them.
I agree with that as well. I actually have seen them play a lot. I'm trying to like make sure I spread it out, but they just kind of get into some good matchups. And I know they're a good team and they play hard. But I actually caught them against Hartley, and that was an impressive performance just because of the fight back. At one point in the game, they were down by 25, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a kind of guy to hold his tongue. I'll tell you guys the truth. You know, it was a snowy day. I risked my tires. Maybe even a dramatic person would say my life to get to that gym. And at one point, they were down by 25. And I'm like, man, I wasted my time coming out in the cold. And when I say they fought back, they put on like a flurry. They only lost that game by, I believe, 6 or maybe 4 points. They again, spearheaded by 5 again, spearheaded by Deuce Marquise Lucas. He put his hard hat on and his guys followed his lead, and they made that game a game. Like when I say Hartley was sweating, they were sweating. So, I mean, even in their losses, they've been really impressive. So, I mean, it only takes one night once it gets to like March. So I do agree with you. I'm aligned with them being a stock riser as well.
Okay. For sure. Okay, D5. And we'll talk about D4 in a minute as well. And if you have anything to add with D4, either of you, that's fine too. Bishop Reedy, they took a early loss to St. Charles, and I wasn't sure that I was bought into the Silver Knights, but like we've said already, St. Charles has turned out to be pretty good. Bishop Reedy's 8-2. They got a huge CBL win over Columbus Academy, which me and Greg both had winning the CBL at the beginning of the year. Reedy's got an elite backcourt and a pretty good big. So I think the Silver Knights are for real.
Another team in D5
Yep,
I want to shout out real quick. Couple teams, but Fredericktown, they're the only remaining undefeated team in D5. They do have a home win over Harvest Prep on their resume. In the KMAC, I don't think there's another team, maybe outside of Danville, that can compete with them. So Fredericktown's a team that they could very well be, 22-0 going into the tournament. Shout out to the Freddies, my guy Dev Brooks, assistant coach in that program. It's my dude. So shout out to the Freddies. He's gonna love that. Hopefully he's watching. He can clip it up. But and then D7, Shekinah Christian is the last remaining undefeated team in D7. They'll have a game on January 20th against Genoa Christian on the road. So we'll see just how good the Flames are in that matchup. So shout out to those two teams. And then D6, looking like it's a 2-horse race between Grandview Heights and Tree of Life. So I wanted to give the small school some a shout out there real quick. So
yeah, definitely. Okay. Okay, going into stock fallers, and again, feel free to disagree with me. I have Grove City on this list, although they've had a much improved season. But they were ranked in our top 5 going into last week. They moved down to 7 with 2 straight losses at home. They lost Upper Arlington, which is not a bad loss, but then they just lost to Hilliard Davidson, who was ranked 21st in Division 1, and Davidson only had 2 wins on the year. So maybe a little bit of time to be nervous for the Greyhounds, but I still think they're off to a really good start.
big game on Friday against Gahanna for them. So
yeah, that's
they can win that game. They can get back on track, but definitely didn't expect the Davidson loss. I'll say
no, me neither. And then probably the one that I guess it's not that surprising because of all the turnover, but they were ranked number 1 to start the year for us. Olentangy Orange, number 19 right now. They are 3-4. They did get a good win over Groveport Madison by 3. And that shows that, you know, they've still got a lot going there for the Pioneers. Also part of it is because their losses is because Trayton Schroeder, like we talked about, had a shoulder injury. So I believe he missed 3 games. They played 3 games in a row against great teams: St. Ignatius, Aiken, and one other team. Upper Arlington. And Trayton didn't play in any of those 3 games. Just not the same team without him. And then Division 2, Big Walnut's off to a slow start. They're still ranked number 4 for us. They're 4-2. And they had a pretty close win over Worthington Kilbourne, which isn't very good this year, early on in the year. I still think the Eagles are going to be a good team this year, but it's just kind of interesting that they've been off to such a slow start. I think point guard, their senior leader, Brody Hatfield, being out with an injury has hampered them a little bit as well. They have a big game this weekend against, I said it earlier, who was it? They're playing Hartley, and then they have I'm sorry, that was St. Charles. I'm trying to think. I can't remember what I said. Anyway, they play Olentangy. That's who it is. Yeah. So they play Olentangy. So that's a huge win. If they can get that one, they're right back on track. Centennial, they lost to Walnut Ridge by 22, and then they had a weird loss to Bexley, which I don't think any of us would have predicted. But I still think the Stars are, in a good situation like we've talked about in the City League. And then in Division 5, Columbus Academy, they're 4-4 right now. Jason Singleton's been Superman, but they haven't had a lot of help outside of him. And with any of those teams, or do any of you have any comments, or you want to add anybody?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. Moving on. Confusing teams. Jonathan Older. They have some good wins, like they beat Watterson. They're RPI number 1 in Division 4. They have a weird loss to Urbana, and then they also lost to Marion Local by 20. Marion Local is undefeated, so they are very good. But the Pioneers are hard to figure out right now, so I have them in that category. So coming up Friday,
got one coming up against Hartley too, so that'll be
right, exactly. Yeah, they've had a home and home the last 2 years with Hartley, and they're coming back to the Pioneer Gym for that one. So that'll be an interesting one too. Coming up here on Friday, so we can talk about these and then what your guys' plans are for the weekend. So Dublin Coffin is back on stride, I believe. They're number 5 in our rankings. They're at number 6, Upper Arlington. That's going to be a great one to see who can kind of, be right behind Hilliard Bradley in that OCC Central. We've also got number 16, Marysville, at number 12, Berlin. Marysville's 4-7, and Berlin is 5-2. It'll be kind of interesting to see if Marysville can get another great win on their resume. And then I have this one on here just because it's been a kind of heated rivalry between Hilliard Bradley and Olentangy Orange. That's on Friday as well. If Orange can protect home court, they're right back up to being one of the better teams in Division 1, I think, or at least with the most upside. And then in Division 2, we've got number 1, Westerville North, at number 4, Big Walnut. Another big test for the Eagles to see how real they are. And then in D3, we've got Hartley, like we talked about, at St. Charles. Anyone have any thoughts on those games?
Kaufman UA, always one of the best rivalry games in the area. So doesn't matter what the teams have, what the records are, you can throw them out when those teams match up. So that game, obviously, with the rivalry, it's already important, but both teams kind of looking like potential top 5 teams in D1 makes that even better. Game it's on the list, but a game I'm going to on Friday night. It's a team I probably should have mentioned for stock risers, but Westland High School, they're 6-2. They won 7 games last year. Coach Joe Jackson's doing an incredible job there. When he took the job, Westland had won 30 games in the last I think 12 seasons prior to him taking that job, and he's already got half of those wins in 2.25 seasons. They're 6-2. They over break before losing to Northland on a buzzer beater this past Saturday. They won 2 games up in the Cleveland area. They're looking really good. They got Westerville South coming in on Saturday or on Friday night. And there's a chance that Antoine Pollard could debut. He's a talented junior guard for them, came over from Harvest Prep. If they're able to have him, if he can get cleared, that's going to make them even more dangerous. Coach Jackson's just got a really young core. These guys have bought in. He's got a couple seniors that left the program and have come back in Sir Gathings. And then Uthman Sharif wasn't at Westland. He was at Bishop Reedy, played a lot as a freshman on that team that went to the state semifinals that was undefeated, and then was at Franklin Heights last year. Now he's at Westland, so they got him as the 5. Sir Gathings is a senior that's played a lot of varsity basketball. Breaker Heller is a junior point guard that, you want to talk about charisma and you want to talk about swagger, like that dude absolutely has it. If they can get Antoine in that mix, Pollard's a guy that's played in district final. He's played in the state tournament. He's got big game experience. It's going to make Westland, be a team that's on the rise. So Westerville South coming in. Xavier Jones is a sophomore, one of the best players in the area, definitely in the state. Had a big game earlier this year, 36 points on the road, double overtime win against Pickerington North. So excited to see Xavier against that Westland team. And then if, like I said, if Antoine can get eligible and get ready to play, that's going to make them even more dangerous. So that's what I'm excited about this weekend. That's why it'll be Friday night.
And that one is at Westland.
Yes.
Yeah, that should be a good one. Lots of athletes on that game.
Be able to attend it, but I would say the game I'm excited about is that Hartley St. Charles matchup. Especially before Reedy left. Man, that CCL is just good ball. Like they play hard. The coaches are very meticulous. And sometimes you just have those matchups where like you got to throw out the records and play ball. So that one I'm looking forward to see just how good St. Charles is and how they match up, and kind of just looking forward to seeing like who's going to come out on top in that conference. So looking forward to that one. I actually am pretty excited. I'm actually going up to LaPorte, Indiana for EYBL Scholastic. Just trying to make it a thing to just kind of travel more and just do stuff that I want to do. And like, why not? It's nothing but just getting in the car and going to watch some high level basketball. Plan to be there this summer and spring. So just getting familiar with that scene, that kind of level of player, and just honestly just falling back in love with basketball. So really looking forward to going up to Indiana and checking out some EYBL Scholastic basketball.
Yeah, EYBL is no joke. I think that's kind of on my bucket list too. It's kind of interesting you mentioned that. Having been an AAU coach for 10 years, I've coached in the 3 SSB circuit. EYBL is different. Like I'd love to go to a tournament and just kind of like do a lot of sightseeing, see all like the celebrity, NBA players that are there. Just the best players in the country. So
I went, man,
have a good time.
2014, saw Jason Tatum against Malik Monk head to head. That was unreal. Man, that matchup was big time.
I think that's just kind of my thing this year, is just bucket listing as much stuff as I can. It didn't end up working out, but I actually wanted to go to Hoop Hall, so that'll be a next year thing. I'll make sure I get money right and figure that out. That's something as a kid I mean, with when I had free time as a kid, like these kids sometimes get into knucklehead activities. I used to record every game, or I had like ESPN Plus, and I would literally watch every game. I could tell you about any player. So just going to Hoop Hall, seeing the Hall of Fame, you know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to that next year. But luckily, flying to the Hoop is the same weekend, and they got some good matchups. So I'm looking forward to that too.
I'm really excited for flying to the Hoop. I don't know, La Lumiere is playing, which has a couple guys that I've gotten to see on the 3 SSB circuit, Jonathan Sanderson and Gon Salongo, like a 7-footer, and then just one of the best guards I've seen in high school. They're actually playing Lakota West on Sunday. It's going to be a heck of a matchup.
Yeah,
so
banger.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the flying to the Hoop as well. Okay, so let's just real quick get into some Saturday, Sunday action. So we've got the OCC versus City Challenge. Is that what they're calling it this year?
It's challenge. It's always been the challenge.
The challenge. Okay, so I messed up. So And where is it located this year, Zach? Do you know?
Afrocentric.
It's
It'll be
at Afrocentric.
Afrocentric going forward. So it's founded by Jason Bates and Mike Bates, coaches at Pick North and Afrocentric. When it started, it would alternate from one location to the other. And this is an event that's been around for a long time. The first year was 2018, and the headliner matchup that year was Pick North against Beechcroft, and that was Drum Hunter against Jelani Simmons. I think that Dark Out was that the first time Beechcroft debuted those gold uniforms? I think so.
Like the
Yeah. So when
yeah.
Beechcroft came out in those, it was like, oh, okay.
I
That was a big time matchup. I really love that Beechcroft team, man. Like Jelani and Daytre and the Simmons twins, like those dudes could go. So yeah, that event is alternated.
That's definitely my favorite teams. I especially as a real city league guy, again, that Northland lore. I watched what I would say in the most least disrespectful way. I watched it actually come to an end. I was in that gym, Beechcroft against Northland.
Yep.
I can't remember if we were at Northland or Beechcroft, but
it was at Northland, and then
with an off the or
then they swept them at Beechcroft.
And then Beechcroft student section was just screaming. We were the real.
Do you remember that like NBA street style alley oop? They threw like double passes off the backboard.
And I knew it was over when I heard Northland student section say, "Let's play football." Whoa! Like the time's changing. I was like, but nah. Yeah. The challenges always gave us some great matchups. We honestly were just reflecting in a group chat just on some of the matchups, and one good matchup was Northland versus Upper Arlington. Keely Elmore hit a game winner. And
the year before, UA beat him on a game. Well, beat Afrocentric on a game winner. So,
and Dave rematch his revenge in the tournament. He dropped 43 on them and checked out the game, and he was beating the whole Northland team. So that tournament has gave us some good matchups. That's another one that I'm sad I'm missing, but definitely again excited to go out of town. Especially
Jason will be there. Charlie Grubb will be there for 270 hoops. So the matchups at Afrocentric, I'm really happy for the Bates brothers, man. They weren't able to have it last year, so had an unfortunate situation the last time they ran it in 2024. Again, just if you're probably not watching this, but if you're a knucklehead kid that decides you want to get in a fight at a basketball game, you're the biggest loser there is. Like, go be lame somewhere else. Don't do that high school basketball event. So they're able to get it back. So I'm really happy for those guys. You can actually get the tickets now. We're going to post it on our Instagram story here tonight. But 4 matchups. You got Centennial taking on defending state champion Olentangy Orange at noon. At 1:45, you got Northland against Delaware Hayes. If you love senior guard matchup, that's the game for you between Deontay James from Northland, Jeremiah Russell from Delaware Hayes. That's the second matchup. Third matchup, Walnut Ridge versus Pick North. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dark Elf. I'm pretty sure it's the first time that Jason Bates will have coached against Ridge. I don't think they've played them.
I've never thought about it, but yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
So Jason Bates, if you're not familiar, he was the Walnut Ridge coach until 2014 when he took the Pick North job. And at that time, that was kind of a shocking move. I remember when the news hit, it was like Pick North basketball was pretty bad for a few years before, that year. And he took a leap of faith, and it's been really successful. He's turned Pick North into, a contender year in and year out. So senior matchup in that one between Marquise Deuce Lucas and J.R. Bates in that game. And then 5:15, the nightcap, Afrocentric versus Hilliard Bradley. You're going to get, at the lead guard spot, Rohan Hardy of Afrocentric against Kipton Norris of Bradley, and then your bigger wings, I guess. I guess not wing, but Mergen against Deron Gray. So the styles are different. It'll be interesting to see if Afrocentric can play better against Bradley than they did against Newark, and it'll also give us kind of a picture of where Newark and Bradley kind of compare, I guess, or how they look, with the common opponent in these two teams that are outside the OCC. So those are the 4 games. It's only $10 for the whole day. You're not going to get that price
that's phenomenal.
at any other event. So check it out at Afrocentric. If you've never been to Afrocentric, it's a beautiful field house, one of the best venues to watch a basketball game in the area. And they got, 8 teams coming in, and it's, again, OCC versus City League. It's a challenge. one of the best events of the year at Afrocentric, so check it out. And then it's not this weekend, but coming up next weekend, we talked about flying to the hoop, but the shot clock battle in the 614 at Ohio Dominican, 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Some big time teams and players coming in for that one, and they will have a shot clock, so it'll be one of the few times that you'll get a chance to see shot clock in a high school basketball game until it officially becomes a rule whenever that comes. But I'm excited for that event coming up the weekend following at Ohio Dominican.
Long overdue, the shot clock. Okay, great. And then there's one more game on Saturday and Sunday. I think we kind of highlighted already. I believe this is on Saturday. Big Walnut is at Olentangy. So just to mention that. All right, so let's overreact a little bit if you guys are down for it. So this first one, not really an overreaction, but it's more of a question. Would you take Newark and Bradley or the Field in Division I for the region?
I would go with the Field, and I'd be more specific. I know that there's a lot of talk here and there, but I'm a believer in Reynoldsburg, so I'd take the Field, specifically Reynoldsburg.
Okay. Zach?
I think I'd go Newark and Bradley.
Okay. I'm gonna side with Newark and Bradley as well, but I'm not very
super
confident about it.
It's D1. It's not like last year where Orange and Reynoldsburg were kind of shoo-ins. Newark and Bradley are very good, but they haven't been at that state semifinal level for Bradley ever. But for Newark, it's been since 2008 since they've been a regional champion. So it's kind of uncharted territory for both of them.
Yeah, agreed. Number 2, Jake Quackenbush is a Mr. Basketball candidate.
He's putting up the numbers for it, but I was having this conversation with some people that are kind of pretty important in Ohio basketball. They don't see it. They don't think he's got the big enough name for it. And they also mentioned they're like, when's the last time a D2 kid has won Mr. Basketball? I think it was
it's a good point.
Player out of Minner, I think in like 04, but which would have been the year after LeBron. But I think he's got the numbers for it. He'll have his best shot if they go 22-0, and then they make a run, a pretty deep run. The votes for all district and those things happen before the tournament, so I guess their tournament run won't have much of an impact on it. See Devin Royal in 2022 not winning Mr. Basketball, but Jake Quackenbush, if they're 22-0 and he continues to score like he has, I can see it. But I just think it's going to be hard. For me, it's going to be hard to see anyone outside of Marcus Johnson win Mr. Basketball this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Darkel, you got an opinion? No,
I would love.
Okay.
I would love to see it. I'm not so sure. Just like, I don't know. Don't get me started. I feel like Mr. Basketball gets real politicky. Not sure if he has the superstar shine that some of the other kids around the state has, but hell of a player. And I think I agree with Zach. They go undefeated, and he has the numbers. He should have a shot. But I honestly don't think it's an overreaction. But I'll hope so. I mean, it'd be nice to see them reward a kid just for winning and playing good ball.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3. I don't know if this is an overreaction either, to be honest. Westerville North is the favorite to repeat in Division II.
I don't think it's an overreaction. I think for the people that were shout out to T. Perkins, he's going to love this. But for the people that thought Westerville North was just going to suck at basketball this year because they lost, Ty and Micah, which amazing players. But it's like, dude, they still had dogs coming back.
Yeah.
Westerville North was my number 1 coming back. I'm like, they return a ton of experience from last year. Before they went cold in the third quarter against Lutheran East, they were playing excellent basketball in that game. Again, you just guards win, and between Elijah McCree and Tyson Perkins, that duo is as good as it gets. So I don't think that's an overreaction. I think them and Lima Senior seem like they're on a crash course right now in D2. So wouldn't be the first time Lima's played a Westerville school in the state championship if it happens. So it would be interesting to see Lima Senior play Westerville North instead of South if they do get that far.
I don't think this is an overreaction at all. I just think you're speaking facts. Come on, man. The Perkins, those are my guys. Like, those are those are good people. Great family. Big fan of. I've seen a lot of talented Westerville North teams. I finally honestly feel like coach is like in his prime and just kind of like getting it done. He's been there for a while. Like even like I could remember back to like the Jew Brown teams, like 2018. There's been a lot of good Westerville North teams, but I feel like he's kind of in a prime of like just figuring out his system and how he wants to play. I feel like he's really adapted from like his like traditional style and kind of just catered to his players. And I think it's paying dividends. But no, I think you're just speaking facts. Definitely got Westerville North coming out again. But I do love that Lima Senior team. I think they play this year. So I'm actually go down.
They do. They play at the end of February.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Oh, well, then that gives you hopefully a preview. Yeah, I was really hoping that was going to be the championship matchup last year, but it didn't end up happening. Lima Senior didn't hold its end of the bargain. Yeah, Westerville North was they were just so deep last year. I think people might not remember that, and that's kind of coming out as well. And I think the cool thing about them is that they just love playing with each other. That's just something I've noticed about them. They play very free, but they trust each other so much that it's just really hard to guard these guys. They're just all gym rats. They're in the gym constantly. A lot of them, a few of them played on the same AAU teams. They just love playing together, and the chemistry, it matters a lot. Number 4, and again, maybe this shouldn't be called overreactions. Maybe it should just be facts, but like we've talked about already, we all still agree that Centennial is still the favorite to win the City League North.
Yeah, but the tiebreaker, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. What about the whole? Yeah, sorry. What about the whole City League?
So for City League North though, Zach kind of has a better idea. He just saw Linden play. Did I see that final score right? That they only beat Linden by 6, or did I?
That's correct, but it's one of those games where the final score
wasn't
closer than it was.
Okay, got you.
Centennial's just they're too talented across the board, and I think they're going to bounce back from the the losses they took over the winter break. Again, for them to not represent the City League North, they're going to have to lose to somebody outside of Northland and lose to Northland. I just don't see that happening.
No, I agree with Zach. As far as the whole city, come on now, that's a bad question to ask me. Go Nubians. There's never who was winning the city championship.
All right, then that'll be the overreaction that they win the whole thing. Okay, number 5. This is the last one, and I believe Darkel, I believe you put this in here. And then I think Zach, you might have responded on the notes here. Jackson Carrera, D7 Player of the Year.
Stamp it.
I could see Newark Catholic's Dylan Dobb holding a potential case for that. He's got the numbers. His team's going to be, they play in the Licking County League, so it's a tougher division than the MoCal. So he may not get it based off record alone. And then I got to check out Shekinah Christian. I don't know who their top guys are, but if they have a guy or two that are putting up big numbers, they are still undefeated. It'll be interesting to see how the coaches vote, because Genoa Christian's a brand new school to D7. Those coaches may not give their player that type of title, the first year of them being OHSA. So I think that is something to consider. Not that Jackson doesn't deserve it, because he definitely does. Kid can absolutely play. But I could see, like you were talking about with Mr. Basketball, these things get politicky too. So you never know.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Well, that's all we have. I appreciate everyone watching the live version. If you're not able to hear the whole thing, tune in tomorrow to Apple Music or Spotify for the entire episode. Gentlemen, I appreciate you guys being on here. Let's do it again sometime.
Oh no, definitely anytime, man. Love talking hoops. Love talking hoops with the fam. Nice to see you guys' face. I'm sure I'll see you guys in the gym somewhere. So,
absolutely, it's a great time.
All right, guys. We'll see you.